Hello, good morning students. Today I am going to explain class 7 history 5th chapter rulers and buildings. Already 4 chapters over and the 4th chapter was the Delhi Sultans, the Mughal Empire. Okay, now this is the 5th chapter, the rulers and buildings. Let's see. Here they have given some pictures, children. See this. This is the figure 1 and here figure 2. Let's discuss about this figure 1. What is this figure 1? The Qutub Minar is 5 stories high. So this is the picture of Qutub Minar. Qutub Minar. And how many stories is in this? There are 5 stories. 5 floor building. The band of inscriptions you see are under its first balcony. So in this Qutub Minar, there are inscriptions. Inscriptions means the writings on the hard surfaces. They are called as inscriptions. So those inscriptions were on the first floor. Inscriptions were on the first floor. Okay. They were written on the first floor balcony. The first floor was constructed by Qutbuddin Aibak. So, who has built this Qutub Minar? This was built by Qutbuddin Aibak. And the rest by Iltutmish around 1229. So, here this credit goes to 2 persons. Who were they? First one is Qutbuddin Aibak. He has constructed up to first floor. And the remaining one is Iltutmish. That means remaining. We have already learned this. This is 5 stories. So, in this up to first floor, Qutbuddin has constructed. And the remaining part, the remaining 4 floors, Iltutmish has constructed. So, these were the 2 persons who were behind the construction of this Qutub Minar. In the year around 1229, the remaining 4 floors were constructed by Iltutmish. But in history we will say that Qutub Minar was constructed by Qutbuddin Aibak only. His name will not be heard. Over the years, it was damaged by lightning and earthquakes. See, already now 1800 years over, approximately. 1229. Now it's 2020. That means nearly 800 years. Okay. So, this was damaged. Qutub Minar was damaged by lightnings and earthquakes. And repaired by Alauddin Khalji, Muhammad Tughlaq, Firoz Shah Tughlaq and Ibrahim Lodi. So, after this, who came as successors of those dynasties, area's kings, those successors, what they have done? They have made repairs of this Qutbuddin Aibak, Qutub Minar. Who were they? One more time. It was Alauddin Khalji, Muhammad Tughlaq, Firoz Shah Tughlaq and Ibrahim Lodi. They have made repairs of this Qutub Minar. So, this was the introduction given for this Qutub Minar. Now, let's go to the lesson. Figure 1 shows that the first balcony of the Qutub Minar. One more time I will show you, children. See this picture clearly. Okay. This was the first floor of the Qutub Minar. Qutbuddin Aibak had this constructed around 1199. Around 1199, Qutbuddin Aibak started the construction of Qutub Minar. Notice the pattern created under the balcony by the small arches and geometrical designs. Can you see 2 bands of inscriptions under the balcony? So here See these arches, children. These are the arches, and here inscriptions are there. Okay, these are the inscriptions in Arabic language. They are okay. On this balcony, there are inscriptions, and these arches like structure construction was there. These are in Arabic. Notice that the surface of the minar is curved and angular. So, minar, the upside, that is curved and angular. Placing an inscription on such a surface required great precision. So, on those hard surfaces, you know how much difficulty to write on hard surface. On these flat boards, we are writing so fast. In your notebook also you are writing. But on the hard surfaces, writing these inscriptions, it's a difficult task. Only the most skilled craft person could perform this task. So, that requires a skilled person. Remember that very few buildings were made of stone or brick 800 years ago. So, like these famous constructions were very few, and these were constructed in ancient time. Nearly 800 years ago only they were built. What would have been the impact of a building like the Qutub Minar on observers in the 13th century? So, by that time, this construction time, 1199, that means nearly 1200, around 1200 they have started. That means 12th century and 13th century people were the witness of this construction. What was their experience, how they have been felt, and the witness of this amazing construction. Between the 8th and the 18th centuries, kings and their officers built two kinds of structures. So, like these constructions, they were built around 8th to 18th centuries. So, by the time, kings and their officers, they were constructed two types of constructions. Let's see. The first were forts, palaces, garden residences, and tombs. Okay, one type of forts, palaces, garden residences. That means surroundings, garden will be there. In between, residence will be there. Okay, and tombs. Tombs means, you know, the burial places of the famous persons. They were called as tombs. So, the first part was like that. Okay, palaces, forts, garden residences, and tombs. Safe, protected, and grandiose places of rest in this world and the next. So, they have given a lot of importance to these constructions. Till now they are there. We are watching and observing. So many visitors were coming to see them. Till now they are safe and secured. Okay, to admire their beauty, so many visitors are coming from around the world. The second were structures meant for public activity, including temples, mosques, tanks, wells, caravanserais, and bazaars. So, first one I will write, children. Okay, first category. Two types of structures they have done. First category comes to forts, palaces, tombs, and garden residences. To show their grandiose, okay, their habit or their interest in the construction, they have built these forts, palaces in a grandiose manner. And the second one for the public activities. What are they? Temples, mosques, bazaars. Okay, temples, mosques, bazaars, and wells, tanks, caravanserais. That means processions. For big processions, kings used to go on the roads, na? That is caravanserais. Okay, for all these, they have constructed this second category. Two types of constructions. One is first style, forts, palaces, tombs, and garden residences. Second category, temples, mosques, tanks, wells, caravanserais, and tanks, like that. And bazaars. kings were expected to care for their subjects, and by making structures for their use and comfort, rulers hoped to win their prize. By constructing this, they want to win the confidence of their people. Construction activity was also carried out by others, including merchants. So, in this construction duty was also given to merchants, because these merchants roam from one place to other place. They will be witnessing new places and new buildings. So, they were also given part of this construction. Why? They may be give advices on the construction styles. They built temples, mosques and wells. And these merchants, not only kings built this, but the second category, some rich people, merchants who have earned, who have much wealth, they also constructed these temples and tanks, wells, all these. So, their role was also there in construction. However, domestic architecture, large mansions of merchants, has survived only from the 18th century. So, earlier during King's time they have built, but the merchants who have earned much, they started their mansions, havelis. Havelis means residences of merchants. Residence of merchants. They used to now. Business people, merchants, they also built their havelis only after 18th century one. That means that much in large size they were constructed their houses after the 18th century only. Next, engineering skills and construction. Monuments provide an insight into the technologies used for construction. So, if we observe these old buildings, this Qutub Minar, Char Minar, Buland Darwaja, the Agra Fort, Red Fort, Taj Mahal, if you observe those construction style, there were a lot of insight, lot of engineering skill was there. Take something like a roof for example. If we take a roof for example, we can make this by placing wooden beams or a slab of stone across 4 walls. If we see our construction, our houses means what we will do? We will 4 sides we will construct a building. Okay. Okay. They will construct, and here roof on the roofs or beams, they will place the roof. This is present style. Now what we are doing now. On the 4 walls, we will place the roof. But the task becomes difficult if we want to make a large room with an elaborate superstructure. But if we are rich people, if we are wealthy people, if we are a businessman, if we want a special house, a superstructure with a utmost design, then common roof will not work out. We want more extra superstructure. This requires more sophisticated skills. So, for that construction, we want good engineering skilled persons. Okay, we will approach them, the specialized people. Between the 7th and 10th centuries, architects started adding more rooms, doors and windows to buildings. So, by the 7th and 10th centuries, those architects, what they have done, they started adding more rooms for these buildings. Doors and windows also. Roofs, doors and windows were still made by placing a horizontal beam across 2 vertical columns, a style of architecture called trabeate or corbelled. See, if we want to construct, what we will do? Rectangular or square type we will take. These are windows. This is the doors shape. But in ancient time, during the 7th and 10th centuries, what was their style? This was the style of their construction. See, of course, it will be like this only. But here, they will construct this dome style. Okay, like this. This was the style. Now, are there any buildings? You check your houses whether like this style or in this doors and windows of this style. But during this 7th and 10th centuries time, they have used this dome style. This structure they used to call it as trabeate or corbelled, okay, corbelled style. Between the 8th and 13th centuries, the trabeate style was used in the construction of temples, mosques, tombs, and in buildings attached to large stepped wells. That means baolis. Okay. See here they have given. This is the corbelled style. Okay. They have given here, children. See. This is the corbelled style. Trabeate or corbelled style. So this trabeate style in which places they have adapted? In temples, mosques, and tombs. Okay, tombs and large stepped wells. In those places they have used this corbelled or trabeate style. Next, temple construction in the early 11th century. So during the 11th century, how the structure of the temple, the construction style of the temples, we are going to learn now. Okay, during the 11th century temple construction style. Temple construction style we are going to see. Let's see. The Kandariya Mahadeva temple dedicated to Shiva was constructed in 999 by the King Dhangadeva of the Chandela dynasty. Okay, from Chandela dynasty. Chandela dynasty. Who was the king built? Dhangadeva. Dhangadeva. What he has constructed? He has constructed a temple. What was the name of the temple? Kandariya Mahadeva temple. That means Shiva temple. Kandariya Mahadeva. Kandariya Mahadeva temple. Okay. Dedicated to Shiva was constructed in 999 by the King Dhangadeva of the Chandela dynasty. Figure 3b is the plan of the temple. So here they have given the temple plan also. See children, this is the plan of the temple. Okay, see, 2 rooms like this and this is the entrance like this. This is the plan, the engineering plan. Usually for the construction of the house we will call the engineers to give plan. So this is the plan of this temple. Which temple? Kandariya Mahadeva temple. An ornamented gateway led to an entrance and the main hall. Main hall was called as Mahamandapa, where dances were performed. So here 3 halls were there. See, in this picture, this is 1. Okay, 1, 2, 3. This is Garbhagruha. The idol of the Swami will be there. Okay, Lord will be there. Lord idol will be there. This is Garbhagruha and this is 1 mandapa and this is Mahamandapa and 1 entrance. So 3 styles. Here this is called as Mahamandapa, where dances were performed by the dancers. Okay. The image of the chief deity was kept in the main shrine. I already shown you Garbhagruha. There the idol, chief idol image will be there. This was the place for ritual worship, where only the king, his immediate family and priests gathered. The Khajuraho gathered. So in this Garbhagruha, who used to gather? King, his family and the priests. They only have the permission to enter into the Garbhagruha and do the puja. The Khajuraho complex contained royal temples where commoners were not allowed entry. Okay, you know already Khajuraho temple. Okay, there also there was no entry for common people. Only kings, priests and their family members only used to enter into the temples. The temples were decorated with elaborately carved sculptures. So here I have shown you the plan. plan of the engineering plan of the temple. And actual picture was given here, children. This is the Kandariya Mahadeva temple. This was the picture of Kandariya Mahadeva temple. Okay, the style adapted for this construction was admirable. Okay, next. Figure 4. They have given one more figure, children. This is figure 4. Okay, observe it clearly. The Rajarajeshwara temple at Tanjavur had the tallest shikhara amongst temples of its time. So, here the those time, whatever the constructions they have done in those temples, which one is the largest shikhara? Which one is having? Rajarajeshwara temple at Tanjavur. At Tanjavur, Rajarajeshwara temple. Rajarajeshwara. Do you know what was the specialty of this temple? I will tell you. This was built by the king named Rajaraja I. Rajaraja built Rajarajeshwara temple for the goddess Rajarajeshwari. Okay. And this is the tallest shikhara. This temple is having the tallest shikhara during that time. Constructing it was not easy because there were no cranes in those days, and the 90-ton stone for the top of the shikhara was too heavy to lift manually. So, here the shikhara contains 90-ton stone. 90 tons. Ton means how much kgs? 1000. So, here how much ton this one? 90 tons stone. 90 tons stone they have to keep on the shikhara. Okay. Like this temple means this. Here they have to keep this 90 tons stone. But by that time there were no cranes or bulldozers cranes to lift this stone to place here. But only man's manual power. That means only human beings, they carried that stone up to here and they have placed. That means so much manual work taken to construct this temple. So the architects built an inclined path to the top of the temple, placed the boulder on rollers and rolled it all the way to the top. So for that, what the architects they have done, they have kept then elevated like path, and from here they have rolled this stone up to here. For this they have constructed like this elevated path to the top of the temple. Okay. So, and from here they have rolled and they have placed here. The path started more than 4 kilometers away so that it would not be too steep. This was dismantled after the temple was constructed. So, how much long they have constructed? This is 4 kilometers long. How much for? 4 kilometers. Nearly, see, 4 kilometers means, 4,000 meters long they have constructed. And once they placed this stone here, afterwards they dismantled this path. That means they have broken, they have removed that. But the residents of the area remembered the experience of the construction of the temple for a long time. So the people who were lived surrounding the temple, it was a wonderful experience for them. Even now, a village near the temple is called Charupallam. So here one village is there nearby. That the village name is Charupallam, the village of the incline. So that was called the village of the incline. That means they have the much experience with this. So this is the lesson, children. The remaining part I will explain in the next video. I hope you understood the content. Thank you. Have a nice day.